Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. And this a land back message off of this past week's class, which was we held Sunday. And the title, which would be like the message, the basis of the class was spiritual growth, growing up in the spirit. And within that lesson, well, I think to close it out, the brother Shariat, he had one of the brothers pull Proverbs 4 and 23, and it was one of those that just stuck with me as far as just meditating on the message. It just continuing the thought process, as you're supposed to do, as far as taking in these messages, these lessons, through the spirit that the brothers put out, brothers do. So Proverbs 4 and 23 reads, "Keep thy heart with all diligence." So keeping something, like upkeep, right? Keeping, making sure that it stays tidy. It's like a room, let alone a house, but a room, keeping the room tidy and clean, sweeping it, dusting, just making sure everything that's within it, is in its place. Whatever it takes to upkeep that, that's what you're supposed to be doing with your mind, with your thoughts, controlling what goes in and out of the room, taking note of what's being let in, where certain things go. And that way you always can, pretty much deal and know what's going on within the room, within that space. The same with your mind. Keep thy heart. And your heart, in the Hebrew, is the word lab, and that word lab is speaking about the mind. Your seat of, what does it say? It's a seat of appetites. So it's the things you think about, the things you delight in. And you're supposed to delight in things that are of above, of the Heavenly Father. Things that are good according to the Lord. Not your own thoughts, but according to the Lord. That's Proverbs 3 and 5. It says, "Trust in the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, with all thine heart." Right? So there's the heart again. So trust in the Lord with all your heart. So you're supposed to trust the Lord with your mind, meaning allow him to direct your paths. You don't have to make up what's good. You got to find and seek, and get the understanding of what's good, but ultimately the Lord will tell you, and ultimately it's all just proven. It will be proven. And ultimately you got to know what's good for you specifically, you individually. All things expedient. Search that real quick. The book of 1 Corinthians 6 and 12. It says, "All things are lawful unto me," So all the Lord's words, his laws, his statutes, his commandments, they're all good. It says, "But all things are not expedient." So everything is not something that you may need to do. And that means something that's lawful. It may be lawful, let me see, just an example. It may work for you to work in a certain job, a certain space, where you amongst people, amongst a lot of people. You might be amongst a lot of Jakes. You might be amongst a lot of, heathens. You might be amongst a lot of Edomites. That might not be good for another brother who can't necessarily, deal in that facet. So you got to understand, yeah, you can do these things. It's not unlawful, but you got to understand what works for you and what doesn't work for you, because it might not be expedient for you to be in those positions, because you might be the type of brother that, flip out on heathens, flip out on Jake, just because you can't be around. And that's just an example. There might be certain things you partake in, certain balance out things you may do. Like one brother might be able to turn on some worldly music, and that's his balance out, and he's edified by it. It helps him, it just works for him. And another brother like, no, I can't even listen because it puts me in a certain space. So all things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. That's talking about to each individual according to the measure you was given. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any. And you don't want to go so far to overuse authority and power, and things that's been given. It's all about using things within the balance and what ultimately works for you. So I'm going to read this in the NLT. It says, you say I am allowed to do anything, but not everything is good for you. And even though I am allowed to do anything, I must not become a slave to anything. Yeah. So yeah, just because you're able to do something don't mean that you ought to do it. It don't mean it might not overcome you. Because examples, you might listen to music, you might be able to listen to some drill music, but that ain't gonna say you might not get worldly. It might catch you in a bad moment. It might overtake you. So you just gotta use discernment and understanding and moving. And that's all part of that spiritual maturity, growing up through the Spirit. It's all about understanding yourself so you can simply endure what's going to allow you to continue going and not bug out or fall out. That's what you do. And you just get better, as you go. So back to Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart. So you're supposed to trust in the Lord with all your heart. You're supposed to lean out on your own understanding. Don't do what you think is right. Do what actually is right. According to thus said Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai, and lean not unto thine own understanding. See, in all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. So the Lord gonna show you which way to go. The Lord gonna direct you through the Spirit. So you need to learn how to listen to the Spirit, understand the Spirit. That's why spiritual maturity is such a needed lesson, a needed message, needed to be understood. So with all you're getting, get the understanding. Realize why these things are important, and it's going to allow you to, walk upright. So back to Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 23, it says, keep thy heart with all diligence. So put forth effort to make sure that your mind is stayed, on the Lord. It stayed clean. It stayed pure. It stayed within the parameters, the measure the Lord built you with. It says, for out of it are the issues of life, because out of your own mind, the things you focus on, the things you don't focus on are the very thing that creates all your distraction, all your issues, all your problems. So keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life, because the scriptures tell you, I'm going to try to find it. Yep. So I'm going to get Luke 12 and 34. It says, sell that ye have and give alms. Luke 12 and 33. Provide yourself bags which wax not old, a treasure in the heavens that faileth not, where no thief approacheth neither moth corrupted, right? I might stay up. Yeah, I'm gonna hold that. But the point is in verse 34, because I could have went to the Matthew 6. It'd probably be more aligned, but through the Spirit, this is it. Luke 12:34, it says, "For where your treasure is," because that's really the point, right? Your treasure, things you acknowledge and you reverence highly. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So the things that you care about, you know, everybody got certain things they put more effort and thought into, that they hold higher than, any other thing that they have, possess, or are seeking to. And you realize that when you just amongst, out and about, the things you care about, the things you tend to, the things you tend to like put a lot of care into, like that you care about. Like you might have plants. So when you out and about, you might pay a lot of attention to like plants. You go to the store, you see some you see a pot or something, you're like, oh yeah, I might need that, because you tending to something that you care, something you treasure. You just paying attention when it's like, my example really is like, if you're going through a store, there's certain sections you're not even go pay attention to. Like you walking around the store, it's a whole store, but there's certain areas you wouldn't even put your eyes to. Like you go to the store, you about to buy some meat, you're not looking at the pork section. Like they don't even exist, because your thoughts aren't there. It's not something you even care about. But just think of walking through a store, all these sections and areas. If you're not there really to get that, and even if you're not there to get that, like say you walk past something that's of your care, you probably gonna acknowledge it because it's within the realm of something you treasure. So anyway, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. See? So that's where your heart gonna be, with the things that you treasure. So mind the things that you allow into your mind, into your cipher, to your circle. Proverbs 4, back to verse 23, it says what? Again, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. So Jeremiah chapter 17. And we go start at 7, we end probably around verse 9. But it says, blessed is the man that trusteth in the Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, and whose hope the Lord is. So a man who's blessed is who keeps his eye on the prize, and that's the Heavenly Father. Thus saith the Lord. Keeping your mind clean, because you're not allowing distractions and filth in. It says, for he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, right? Because men are likened it to trees, and the waters, it's like the spirits, the scriptures is the word. It's our food, it's our nurture. It's what nurtures us, what's what help us grow. A tree planted by water is in a perfect environment. It has everything it needs. And that's how a man is when he stayed on the Lord. It says, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, because you're going to be in position when the heat comes. The heat represents adversity, hard times, bad times. In those times, you're going to know what to do, because you was focused on the Lord. And the Lord showed you how to get out of these bad situations, how to avoid them. He directs your paths. He told you certain things were going to happen through prophecy. He told you to be prepared in these certain situations, Told you may be delivered up. He told you your foes going to be those of your own household. He told you that it's going to be wars and rumors of wars, He told you the so-called white man was the devil. He told you that he was going to come and save you see? So, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the years of drought. Yeah, because you was put up. Neither shall cease from yielding fruit. Drought goes on with something being without something. A drought just in like a famine of hearing a word. at a time where the Lord shuts up, his men that are out preaching and teaching, and YouTube isn't available and people aren't able to get the word, you go be straight because the Lord's words reside in you. Meditate on them. They become part of you. You see? Neither shall cease from yielding fruit. And you always going to be bringing forth fruit because you have it. It's within you through the Spirit. The point is here, verse 9, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? So you got to understand that and know that your own mind, your own heart, and your own thoughts, when you're not keeping the Lord first and foremost and allowing him to direct your paths, you're not leaning on him with all your understanding, with all your heart for understanding, your heart itself is a desperately wicked place. That's where demons come in. That's where you get, just doubt and, depression and all these negative things that aren't real. And it's because you wasn't having the Lord at the forefront of your mind, and you allow demons to come in and you allow your own thoughts to come in. So you at the store and you looking and you see everything because everything appeals to you because you don't know what's good and what's not, good. So a mind just left is like a wilderness. Anything can grow. But again, when your mind is stayed on the Lord, you know what is allowed in that house, what's allowed in that room, what comes in and what goes out, what should go in, what shouldn't go out. You see? And you able to withstand. So the heart, again, your mind is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? That's something to ponder on. And we'll close it out back in that Proverbs 4 and 23. It says, keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. So you got to keep it. Keep your heart, keep your mind, and keep it stayed on the Lord, because he go direct your paths. He go show you what's good. He go show you what's bad, and you obey, and you'll be good. So, Lord willing, this was something useful, edifying, to the listeners out there. But with that, until next time, I'm going to say shalom.